back to Florida Powerboat Club's YouTube channel. And guys, I've got great news. We're moving forward into the 2023 event series, and we have got a lot to celebrate as Florida Powerboat Club has now reached 30 years of powerboating in paradise, and we are sharing a big celebration with Mercury Racing, who celebrates now 50 years of wide open, and we are going to have a fantastic year ahead, starting off with the winter fun run in January, headed down to Key Largo, where we're going to stay at the Playa Largo Resort. But before we get started, let's thank our 2023 series sponsors. Our presenting sponsor for the FPC 2023 series of events is Mercury Racing, celebrating 50 years of wide open. And by these sponsors, in alphabetical order: Big Thunder Marine, Blackwater Boats, Cigarette Racing Team, Concept Boats, Deep Impact Custom Boats, Doug Wright Powerboats, Fountain Powerboats, Midnight Express Boats, Nortec High Performance Boats, Performance Boat Center, Plantation Boat Mart, SD Marine Group Islamorada, Statement Marine, and Top Gun Performance, dealers for cigarette racing. And as always, we get started here from the Pompano Air Park with, that was Joey Catrati in the back seat with the video camera ready to go. Otherwise, kind of an uneventful day, a little bit cloudy and overcast, but remember, it is the end of January where it is snowy and cold in the rest of the country, but we have got some nice weather ahead for the entire weekend. Just a little hazy here as we rendezvous at Grove Harbor Marina. A small event, pales in comparison to our last event, which was the Key West Poker Run, with about 250 registered teams, about 1/10 of that with less than 25 teams here, as we see the group just idling out here from the harbor. A couple of catamarans anxious to hit the throttles. That's Cliff Anderson on the left in the 34-foot MTI, and John Wittenberger Jr. in that 36-foot Spectre cat. Another bad decision as he named the boat, his second cat in a while, but he ran the boat in Key West, so it's his second time now to work out any bugs on those new engines that he built. And then, of course, a lot of center consoles attending. There's DJ Cereza in his black Midnight Express. They have got big plans for a celebratory weekend. It's his 60th birthday here for this winter fun run, and so he's going to be with all his boating friends to celebrate that. And just a quick shout out to the guys at Grove Harbor Marina in Coconut Grove. A lot of us did an overnight stay last night, so they rolled out the red carpet to us, and away we go. It's the first guy to hit the throttles, of course, Ray Grimaud in his 42-foot Mystic. They came all the way down from Long Island to join this run. He's been away from the boat for a little while, but he's anxious to get out and have some fun again. Winter Poker Run is one of his favorite events. That's because it goes to Playa Largo, a resort that he and his wife have grown to love, and they would not miss an opportunity to go back there for sure. And here's a 38 Fountain we haven't seen in a while, John Jordan II, team wide open. Well, that's an appropriate name considering he's running Mercury Racing 525s. It's been a while since we've seen them, but they came all the way from Indiana, 1,200 miles one way to come down and join us, so that's a pretty big time commitment. But guys, remember, this is the late winter. It's the only place in the country, really, that anyone's powerboating, so I think that John and his crew would agree it was worth the time away, and they are getting ready for a fantastic weekend. In his video bio, John tells us that this boat was almost a complete refit. It's a 2005 38 Fountain. He says once he gets everything dialed in, he's going to put it up for sale and buy himself a center console. John also shared that he loves the Florida Keys. He's happy to be back with the club and enjoying the warm weather. And while the event is going to be over on Sunday, he's going to stay another week in the Keys and spend time with family. And speaking of center consoles, let's catch up now with Paul Eisen and his wife Maria Saul in team Still Smokin', 41-foot cigarette GTR, Quad Mercury Racing 450Rs. And at the speed that Paul's traveling right now, I think he's probably only got 2 of them running. Because, we're just on cruise control, just getting things up and going alongside here. Tom Gorzis on the right in his 42-foot cigarette Huntress Team OPA 2. But we're actually doing something a little different here today. Normally we would stop the entire group and then do our staggered starts, of course, with the high performance class leaving first, then the performance class, and then, of course, the sport boat class And the purpose of that is primarily for safety reasons, to get the faster boats out front and to avoid any great amount of overtaking on the course. But today we're doing something a little different because we have a small group, and I wanted to get that money shot for the very first event of the year. And having a group of this size gives us the opportunity to kind of stage something that might be kind of cool, fingers crossed. And here it is. It's a money shot with all the boats all staggered together in a formation. And I would have to say that we were almost perfect on this, maybe just missed it by a couple of lanes if we had a couple of boats in place a little better. But the real deal here is that the cloudy gray skies just didn't give us the colors we were looking for. But overall, guys, I would have to say this is very impressive. Everyone kept in their lanes and spread things out nicely. We kept the speeds manageable at around 60 to 65 miles per hour. And these are the kind of images that we love to get with the Florida Powerboat Club, and we can use them for our magazine and our social media and our calendars and so on. And I want to thank you guys for cooperating and helping us to get this cool shot. And one other thing that I might add about this whole format is that we're not really in a very big hurry to get to the Keys today, because Key Largo is our final destination. And normally that is just our lunch stop on most of our runs, and then we continue on further into the Middle Keys or all the way to Key West. But with Key Largo being our final destination, that allows us to do a later start in the morning. Remember, we're still going to stop at Gilbert's, but from this point here, it's only about a 40-mile ride to Key Largo. And that means we should just take our time and enjoy the day. Getting things kicked off here with the Flight 1130, my 38-foot cigarette Top Gun. I've got a full crew on board today. And if you're wondering who all the people are, well, I had Tori Robeson and his crew, Team B First, join us for the ride. And you can see that off to the right, it's already starting to get sunny. The sun is trying to break through as we head closer to Key Largo. Tom Gorz is here in the foreground. He's been around the club for several years, and this is his second cigarette huntress. And now we're catching up with John Wittenberger Jr., his first mate Natalie, riding along in this 36-foot Spectre, an 06 model. Team, another bad decision, which is a great boat name considering his last 30-foot Spectre was bad decision. Now we're catching up with Tommy Archer in that 41-foot Skater, a pair of Mercury Racing 1100s. Let's listen in to the ride. A lot of horsepower in this frame with John Wittenberger on the far side, a pair of 850s, and Tommy Archer completely redoing this 41 Skater with a pair of Mercury Racing 1100s. What a great looking poker run boat. And one of our teams that came a long way to attend, all the way from Michigan, Steve Banke and his Wright Performance 360, pair of Mercury Racing 450Rs, and he has got the perfect conditions to enjoy the performance of this cat today. Going to be able to crank it up and cruise at 100 all day long and no problem, and still get close to 2 miles to the gallon. These outboard cats have amazing performance specs, and you can understand why so many people are deciding to go in this direction. Tim Gallagher from Performance Boat Center riding along. And without a doubt, our biggest catamaran on the run, Chris Nazetta, all the way from Illinois, in this 48-foot MTI called Team Bugatti. Let's listen to these Mercury Racing 1350s. You can't help but notice those beautiful graphics on the boat, and this is what won Chris the Best Paint and Graphics Award on his previous event. That was the Key West Poker Run back in November. And it's another MTI cat. This time it's Cliff and Melissa Anderson in their 2019 MTI 340X, a pair of Mercury Racing 400Rs. And if we had the farthest traveled award, I believe it would have to go to them. They came all the way from Lake Havasu, Arizona to join us here in Miami for the run. One of the highlights for Cliff has always been to hang out with Mom and Dad, who are also attending in their 39 Nortec. In his video bio, Cliff said that he was trying to do all of the winter runs this year, and I can tell you at this point, looking back, he nailed it, every single one. And it's one more time for you guys who love the roar of high performance. Listen into these custom-built 850s by Johnny Wittenberger Jr. And this big super beast is a 39-foot MTI, belongs to John Strama from the Florida Keys. It's got Mercury Racing 860s. And you can get used to seeing a lot of this black Midnight Express 43 Open. It belongs to DJ Sarisa. And I know that you're going to see a lot of it because he's very active on the poker run circuit. He added this to his fleet. His other boat is a 38-foot Donzi SC Comp, and if anybody knows, that's a boat with a very small cockpit. So not a great boat if you're doing a poker run and you want to bring all your friends. This Midnight is the perfect answer. It's currently powered by Quad Mercury Racing 400Rs, but I know DJ has his eyes out for a quad set of Mercury Racing 450s, and I do believe he's found them by now and has already repowered the boat for some more of the poker runs. But plan on seeing a lot of this team. He's got his first mate, Amanda, on board, and they are headed down to Key Largo to celebrate his big 60th birthday weekend. And it's one more time with John Jordan II, and a closer look at this Fountain 38, which has had a completely new refit. And it's the usual stuff, changing out cushions for marine mat, new garments, new JL audio system, all the good stuff. Much better conditions as we now catch up with Kurt Watkins from Boca Raton. He's got his first mate on board, Regina. They're going to be married in the spring. Happy to see this crew attending as many events as they can in this Nortec 390 Sport, Quad Mercury Racing 450Rs. They religiously go to the Key West Poker Run every year and a few other events as well. We used to see Kurt in a lot of skaters over the years, but this is one boat that he's had for a while, and I don't expect him to get rid of it very soon. He's really enjoying this Nortec 390 Sport, and what's not to love? What a great shot here on the lower waters in Biscayne Bay as we get closer to Key Largo. And you can see these conditions are really turning out to be ideal. Just a very, very light chop as we head in here to Cutter Bank, and the boats seem to be enjoying the ride. Everyone is spread out nicely, and that allows our helicopter crew to close in for the money shot. And we're going to spend a little time now with Tommy Gorzis and his crew on this 42-foot Cigarette Huntress Team OPA 2. What was OPA 1? Well, it was a Cigarette Huntress, also a blue hull sides on it, and we did have a chance to ride with Tom and his crew to the Bahamas in the summer months. This boat goes back home to the northern Chesapeake area where they do a lot of boating and poker runs, and we expect to see this crew this July at the Thunder in the City Run in Chesapeake City, Maryland. And let's say hi now to Eric and Eileen Fudala, their first event with the club, Team Incorrigible. It's a 2017 39-foot concept. They bought the boat about a year earlier in spring 22, and then hurricane hit and did some damage to the boat. Took them quite a while to get the boat fixed up and ready to run, and it just got completed in time for the winter run. And an interesting logistic detail, Eric drove the boat all the way from Naples, Florida up to Miami to join us for the run. And here's one for the classic enthusiast, pair of Top Guns here, both old school straight bottom guns. That is Alan Lima on the far side in his 1995 cigarette Top Gun. Might be a 94, but it's got repowered 525s in it. Looks and sounds and runs great. Of course, we all know Alan as the owner of Grove Harbor Marina, so it's nice to see that he can get out and play every once in a while. But getting these two old school Top Guns together for this ride through Biscayne Bay, to me, was extremely exciting. You think it looks great, you should listen in. It even sounds better. Of course, while Alan has done these repowers over the years with the 525s, you can see that otherwise this is a completely original cigarette Top Gun with that nostalgic 90s look paint job, all original. Many of you who have been watching these episodes know why I renamed the boat from Project 1080 to Top Gun Flight 1130. The reason is because of the repower. We took the Mercury Racing 540s out and replaced with brand new Mercury Racing 565 stern drives. I'm loving the performance and the reliability. We ran the boat quite a bit for the Key West Poker Run back in November, but we're still working to put some hours on her, and so far it has been flawless and trouble-free for the last couple of months, and we're already up to about 75 hours on these motors. And I wish we would see more of these Concept 39s. I think it's a great looking model. Of course, Concept is very active with the club. We tend to see a lot of their 4400 model, but it's nice to see this 39. I think it's a great poker run boat. And it's one more time with Paul and Marisol Eisen in the Still Smokin', this 41-foot cigarette GTR. Altogether, there are 5 cigarettes registered for the event, 3 center consoles and 2 performance V-bottoms. And as expected, I mentioned that we were in Cutter Bank, which puts us into Card Bank, and then, of course, the Card Sound Bridge. We have completed our run through Biscayne Bay, and we are now crossing Barnes Sound, which is about a 6-mile hike across this protected bay into Key Largo, where we arrive at Gilbert. And one more time with Phantom Midnight, DJ Cerise and his crew in this 43 Midnight Express Open. And I would have expected them to have a lot more people on the boat since it is so big and a lot of seating, but all of their friends are driving down to Key Largo, and I know they have a big celebration planned. They rented the house at Playa Largo Resort, which is a fantastic place to host any parties, and I think that's the plan for the weekend. They've got about 25 to 30 guests coming down to join them. And there we are, running in through Jewfish Creek, catching up with Paul again. And that, of course, is the US 1 bridge off in the distance. That means we're going to be settling in at Gilbert's in just a minute. But this is the scenic ride that you can expect as you cross Barnes Sound into Key Largo, coming into these mangrove waterways. And there's the beauty shot from high above, and you can get an appreciation of why it is so important to slow down and maintain a single file as you come into these waterways. Remember that these are general waterways for all of the boating public. Traffic in both directions, so it's always good to slow down and be ready. Here we are at Gilbert's now, and boats are starting to dock up for our lunch. Looks like the weather has turned completely in our favor now as we look at these blue skies, and quite a reversal of what we saw back in Miami as we were leaving Coconut Grove. And this pretty much sets the stage for the entire weekend. We can expect beautiful weather to continue for the next 2 days. Okay, so let's fast forward to Saturday morning here at Playa Largo Resort as we get ready for the Saturday fun run. You can see that the docks are kind of a mishmash here. It's an unusual docking configuration. Basically just a big T-head here, and so we of course have to raft up. We can get 4 rows in. We only needed to get 3 rows in here this time, and you can see some of us were able to get into slips. Those slips, most of them are only about a 10-foot beam, so it's hard to get a boat like a big center console or a cat into any of those slips. So this is a little bit of an unusual marina in that respect here at Playa Largo. The most we can get in here is maybe 25 boats, 30 at the very maximum. But once everybody's settled in, it's really just a good setup. A little bit breezy here today as we take off now, heading out on our fun run through. This is the Marvin Adams Pass. And if you tried to find this, you probably couldn't. It's kind of hard to find. It's right off of Blackwater Sound. And it's not one of the traditional channels that you would see marked for the intracoastal. It's kind of off the beaten path, so it's not going to have those little magenta lines going through it. But it is a cool site, very scenic, and you can see just cut perfectly right out of the coral. It's probably about a mile long, I'm guessing, from the bay side over to the ocean side, but it doesn't directly connect with the ocean as you would think, like with an inlet. It goes into an area called Largo Sound and then passes through some mangrove waterways. I got a couple of the FPC girls riding along today. Hannah and Jackie came up from Key West to join us for the weekend, and I love this drone shot because we've got Andre Alvarez riding with us on the Cigarette today, and he is a master drone pilot, and just going to go down the canal one by one and get these cockpit close-ups of all of our crews as we go single file through this Marvin Adams cut. I'm guessing the cut is probably 50 feet wide, not much more. If it's 60, barely. And Jackie and I and our family spent a lot of time on this waterway through the years because our friends Mark and Eileen Fisher from the Powerboat Club used to own a home on the left side. You can almost see it there. And we spent a lot of time here on the weekends. And at nighttime, this canal came alive because all of the shrimp fishermen would come out, and the shrimp were running rampantly through this canal every evening, which has a very strong current during tidal shifts. Now here, this visual gives us the exit from the Marvin Adams cut into a little body of water we call Largo Sound. And Largo Sound is just like a little lake, and you can eventually get up to speed and go fast across the lake, but you have to be careful where you go because it is fairly shallow. But there are mangrove waterways to the north and to the south. If you go to the north, it's extremely narrow and with a lot of turns and curves and some shallow areas, so you have to be extremely careful. Going now to the south, though, you've got a bigger waterway, and occasionally you'll see some big boats passing through these waters. So here's a great visual as we slow down now. You can look back and you can see it's about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles at the very most from where we entered Largo Sound, and now we're getting into this narrow waterway. And we're now also into the state park, so it's Pennicamp Coral Reef State Park, and that is a conservation area, and it does require slow speed, idle speed for this next little jaunt, which is maybe 1/2 mile long. But then at some point we can get back up to speed. Very scenic, and you'll see a lot of recreational boaters, especially paddle boaters and kayaks and things of that nature, because this is considered to be a nature preserve, and a lot of families and a lot of boaters come here to enjoy Mother Nature, and that's why we just got to take it easy and enjoy this scenic ride through these waters. Well, there you have it, guys. We have almost completed this little adventure through Largo Sound and Pennekamp Coral Reef Park, about to enter the ocean. We're going to skip the ocean leg because we got to go in some bumpy water. So we're going to put the drone away and hang on for the ride on this ocean leg as we travel about 15 miles now to Islamorada. And here we are, arriving at Postcard Inn off in the distance there in Islamorada. That's US 1 Highway Bridge, as you can see. And everyone just making their way into the marina here. Some of us are going to dock along the outside bulkhead, and a few of us may get on the inside and get a transient spot that's open at least for lunchtime. They're pretty good about allowing us in here. The dockmaster and his crew are a great bunch of guys that are always welcoming to the Florida Powerboat Club. Of course, we do plan to visit here a month later in February. We're going to take over the entire facility, most of the rooms, not all of them, but the entire marina, with the exception of the charter boat docks. And we're going to fill it up and return now to a venue that was very popular back in the 90s and the early 2000s for this Miami Boat Show Poker Run. But today it's just a stopover for lunch and perhaps maybe a little bit of a recon visit for some club members who haven't been here before. And it helps them set this in their GPS so they know they can return in February when we do the Miami run. And one thing I do want to mention is right now we have got high tide and high water, so it's very safe to come and go from this outside bulkhead. But I would highly recommend to anybody who's visiting Postcard Inn, these waterways get extremely shallow here on the outside. So it's good to stay very close to the dock at all times. Trim up your motors and have your lines and fenders ready to tie up. Of course, we're going to have to be doing a lot of rafting here as the group gets bigger. This is going to be an easy one today, though, with having a small group. And this is why I love using the drone, getting some great shots of the marina basin here. You can see it's extremely small basin, and that's why it's difficult to get big groups in here. But a lot of sport fishing boats and a lot of transient boaters that come and go. But it doesn't take long to fill this place up. And for big events like the Miami Boat Show Poker Run, all of these inside slips, like the one that I'm pulling into right now, are considered to be sponsor slips. And these are the premium docking locations that all of our Florida Powerboat Club Series sponsors can enjoy to show off their latest models. And for those of you who like to plan ahead, we've already signed a contract for 2024 for the Miami Boat Show Poker Run, taking place once again in late February, right after the Miami Boat Show. And if you haven't noticed by now, but you look off to the right and you see a lot of big sport fishing vessels. Most or all of those are charter boats. Remember that Islamorada is the sport fishing capital of the world. And yes, indeed, this is an ideal place to come if you want to go catch some big fish. And you don't have to travel offshore very far because these are very abundant fishing grounds here in the middle and upper Florida Keys. And you may have noticed that black rib have snuck into the format. Well, he's actually a registered team. He didn't run with us a day earlier. That's a brand new Skipper 42. It's got a pair of Mercury 600 V12s on the back. Albert Franco and his crew, we're going to get a chance to see that boat run just a little later when we get back to Key Largo. So we're going to get down here on the docks and wander around a little bit just to show you the big changes that have happened over the years here at Postcard Inn. Of course, the original Holiday Isle Resort as we once knew it. While most of the main hotel structures are still in place and have been renovated extensively, but all of the restaurants have been completely removed and rebuilt with new structures and a very different layout here on the dock as well. They've gotten rid of the Bimini Row, all those shacks and buildings that were dilapidated and falling apart, and been replaced now with a nice big open dock. And it seems to be a great format. It worked out well for us on our February event just a month later. But of course, we have a lot of content to share with you in some of our new episodes. But meanwhile, let's take a closer look at the Skipper 42 center console. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of these ribs. Many of them, most of them manufactured in Europe, and they're a big deal over there. Trust me when I tell you that, after being over to Norway and over to the Med and seeing just how many of them are now being produced. But even if you went to the Miami Boat Show in February and saw all the new rib lines, it's like it's their own version of the center console trend that's happening. So essentially they are kind of like center consoles. They just have different hull configurations, a little bit lower to the water, less freeboard, but we'll see how it goes. Of course, the demand for catamarans in our poker run world, whether they're outboards or stern drive, big power, we still seem to love our performance catamarans, and we are going to continue to see a lot of them on our poker runs with FPC. Well, enough about boats. Let's just sit back and enjoy the sights. Yeah, you got it, guys. The sights around here at Postcard Inn on this beautiful day in January. And less than a mile down the road here at Snake Creek Bridge is Islamorada Yacht Club, which is currently under construction. They've got big plans here. Of course, this is all owned by SD Marine Group. This is a popular stopover for us with the Florida Powerboat Club. Right now, it's primarily for the purposes of getting fuel. And of course, they do have the Island Grill restaurant just on the other side of the bridge, making it easily accessible on foot by just going under the path there at the bridge. So we stopped here because we had a fuel truck and we squirted some fuel. So I'd like to thank Yanko from Keys Fuel for bringing the truck over and squirting some 93 octane for some of our boats. And of course to SD Marine Group for allowing us to continue using their venue for our poker run events. We'll be using their venue again a month later to dock some of our boats and of course conduct some of our fueling needs. So thanks to that gang, and we'll be back with you guys in a month. In the meantime, let's head back to Key Largo. And remember, guys, when you come into Snake Creek, it's primarily an idle speed. You can see that sign off to the left. That indicated to us we can get back on plane. But you do have to maintain a single file and be very careful coming in and out of these channels because they're very narrow and there's a lot of turns. And it's quite easy to encounter oncoming traffic very suddenly as they come around the bend. So it's important to be very careful as you come in and out of these channels in the Keys. And we're back now here at Playa Largo in this beautiful scenic bay. what a great place to do a photo shoot. So we still had the drone flying, and that Skipper 42 that was brought down by Marine Connection, one of their newest of that 42 model with twin Mercury 600 V12s. Just an ideal package, really. A good running boat, a great looking boat, lots of room, obviously a lot of versatility. And we thought we would just spend a little time and get the drone up and try to capture some nice videos, since they got missed by the helicopter a day earlier because they got a late start on the run. It was their first time joining us on a Florida Powerboat Club event, and we hope to see them again soon.
Another day of powerboating in paradise with the Florida Powerboat Club, this time in Key Largo, as we kick off 2023 with the Winter Fun Run. We left Miami yesterday, about 22 boats all told here for this event, which is a nice, comfortable size event here for Playa Largo. As you can see, most of them tied up in the back here. A nice weekend with me and the family, or with my wife and our friends on the Top Gun. Our first poker run now for the new year. And at 30 hours now, the flight 1130 with those Mercury Racing 565s is holding out really nicely. We did a little bit of offshore running today in the rough stuff, so that 38-foot Top Gun did its job by just slicing through those waves. Everybody had a nice ride today. We went from Key Largo down to Islamorada for a fun run. We had lunch at the Postcard Inn. That's where we're going to be visiting next month with the Florida Powerboat Club for the Miami Boat Show poker run. But for now, it's just a nice, easygoing weekend. Nice breeze coming in here, about 75 degrees today. Not bad for the middle of January, where it's cold everywhere else in the country. But here now, looking across the Playa Largo, 2 weddings going on, because this is a very popular wedding venue. So we're gonna be really quiet as we walk through. Gonna be starting happy hour here at the Soul by the Sea again. That's kind of how we do things here in Key Largo. You know, not a lot on the agenda other than hanging out with our boating friends and having a nice weekend.
Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up our first event of the 2023 season with the Winter Fun Run to Playa Largo Resort. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And we're going to close off this show with some high-performance drone flying. And yes, indeed, just like powerboats, we've got our cruisers and we've got our high-performance boats. Well, they have the same thing in the drone world. And Andre Alvarez, our drone pilot, is quite accomplished as a performance racing drone pilot. And he's got his high-performance machine out today, capable of well over 100 miles per hour. So I hope you enjoy. This is not sped up. This is real time, real speed. So hang on to your armchair, because you might get a little dizzy. Well, guys, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. And remember, we got more just around the corner as we work on our full lineup of 2023 events. Of course, the next is the Miami Boat Show Poker Run, and a total of 4 episodes with feature coverage of that signature Florida Powerboat Club event. But you can't afford to miss any shows, so make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you'll get an update every time a new episode is released. Be sure to check out the website at flpowerboat.com for all of the details about upcoming poker run events in 2021, as well as membership information. You can follow us on Facebook at Florida Powerboat Club, and you can follow us on Twitter and on these Instagram pages. Thanks to all of our viewers for your wonderful comments on our page, and you guys know who you are, and I really do appreciate that. But if you have questions or comments you want to direct to me specifically, please use my personal email at stu@flpowerboat.com. I check that daily, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We're going to sign off for now. This is Stu Jones, along with our producer Ryan McCoy, in the Pompano Beach studio. Have fun out there, guys. Be safe on the waterways. Wear your life jackets when the time is right, and always respect your fellow boaters. Bye for now.